Welcome, Scribes of the Extraordinary. Today we're going beyond entertainment and diving deeper into the craft of storytelling by talking about different writing styles. So, today we're going to talk about the differences between an outliner and a discovery writer, as well as some of the advantages and challenges that come with both, and give you the information that you need to figure out which bucket you fall into. And stay tuned for more. I have a really cool tool for you guys later on. So, firstly, what is the difference between outliner and a discovery writer? Well, when I was younger and writing my first book, I just had an idea, sat down, typed whatever came to mind, and that's how I had written for a long time. And it wasn't until I went to film school and we were learning about script writing that I learned that people outline their stories and that's actually a very positive and beneficial thing. So I went from I have idea, let's just go for it, to the completely opposite end of the spectrum of outlining every single scene in my scripts. And I want to help you guys figure out where on that spectrum that you fall by giving you some information about the differences between outliner and a discovery writer. So, first, we're going to start with an outliner. Outliners are sometimes referred to as planners in the writing community, and they prefer to plan first. They have detailed outlines of all their story information. Primarily, they will have their plot points all figured out so that their story can easily be strung together when they go to the manuscript. They have every important beat, every important moment that's going to happen in their story already lined out. And going along with that, they already have their character arcs figured out before they're going to go to the manuscript. Your primary character arcs, your protagonist, your antagonist, any of the close relations that are with your protagonist, those character arcs are going to be already figured out. Outliners also have reduced writer's block because they spend so much time planning out their story before they begin. They don't get lost in the writing process, which is a wonderful benefit of outlining. And on the extreme end of outliners, some outliners have their story planned not just to the primary plot points, but they have their scenes. Every single scene is planned out before they ever start writing. Discovery writer, complete opposite end of the spectrum. They have an idea, character, story, whatever. They just dive straight into the manuscript, and whatever comes to their mind, they do. They often have no idea what the story is. And that's the beauty of it, is that discovery writers enjoy the journey of figuring out the story as they go. They get a lot of joy in the spontaneity and the creativity of it all. And that isn't that why we all write, is to just have those moments that just, oh, I can do this? Oh, I'm absolutely going to do that. Then you just dive in and write out the whole scene or sequence or whatever. That's where the joy in storytelling really comes from, is that spontaneity. So, some of the advantages and challenges with these two camps, we're going to start with the outliner and we're going to start with the advantages. Now, the advantages of being an outliner is the organization. It's having all your plot points in a row, it's having your characters mapped out, their personalities are mapped out, their character arcs are mapped out, and you have your world building all figured out, and you have that organized in a way that you can easily access it. So if you ever have a question of where you are in the story or of a world building element or detail that you're not really solid on, you can always go back to your notes because they are organized and you made sure you made them that way. Another advantage is the manuscript gets done a lot faster because you have everything outlined, all your ducks in a row. You go, okay, that's next, you write it. That's next, you write. That's next, you write. So everything gets done a lot quicker when it comes to the actual writing process. In addition, you get faster rewrites because you spent so much time figuring out the skeleton and your first manuscript is fleshing it out. You're just polishing, changing some things that maybe didn't work the way you thought they would in the outline, and just tweaking more than you're doing full overhaul rewrites because you did so much work at the beginning. And now some challenges is that loss of spontaneity and of writing. When you have everything in such hyper detail planned out before you even begin your manuscript, you don't really give yourself those moments to just have the creative sparks that happen in the moment make their way into the story. It's very easy to feel confined in writing out the story that you planned for yourself to write out. In addition to this, your characters can feel very stiff. They can feel very wooden. They can feel like puppets that are just kind of being drawn and strung along your plot because you planned for them to do this, then this, then this, then this, and hit their character growth here and here and here. And because of that, sometimes it feels like your characters are just being forced. They're like being drugged through your story and not developing as naturally. And ultimately, a lot of the work comes at the beginning. And that's another challenge for the outliner is you can spend years just planning your story before reaching your manuscript. Hi, I'm one of those. I spent 4.5 years just planning the fantasy trilogy that I'm currently writing. And that led to, am I actually a writer? Can I figure this out? Why is this taking me so long? Why can't I just sit down and write? Because I had this thought that I guess to be a true writer, you must be a discovery writer and go for it. And my friends, that is not at all the case. But it can lead to those frustrations of, okay, when can I actually get to the writing? And now the advantages of being a discovery writer. Big advantage is the flexibility. When you are writing, when you're being creative, whatever comes to mind just goes straight onto the page. If you are writing a scene and a dragon appears, and the dragon is now a part of the story because it showed up and you thought, you know what, cool, this works. Let's go with the dragon. And you can just enjoy that creative flow of having one idea blend into the next, blend into the next. And you have the thrill of discovering new plot points and seeing character arcs unfold naturally. And that's something that I love so much about writing, is just seeing everything work. Everything clicks, and seeing how characters can really evolve seemingly on their own is so amazing. A little bit of a side tangent with that. The reason why I can feel like your characters are running off doing their own thing, it's like, oh yeah, they're writing themselves. It's actually not, oh cool, they're writing themselves. It is a congratulations to yourself, because if it feels like your story is writing itself and things are just clicking and meshing, that means you as the writer have such a deep, intimate understanding of your characters and of your world that it just clicks together. So it's not some magic, oh, look, they just work for me. No, it's proof that you've put in the hard work. So next time, when you have those, oh, my characters just do their own thing, pat yourself on the back, because that means you have done your work as a writer in understanding your world and characters. Now back to discovery writing, we're going to talk about the challenges. And one of the big challenges of discovery writing is getting stuck. If you don't know where you're going, it is very easy to hit narrative walls and to pigeonhole yourself. It is so easy to just get stuck in a corner and not know where to go or what to turn to because you don't know what's down the road. And I think this is where a lot of brand new writers get frustrated and where they quit is because they have a great idea, a great story. Their protagonist is so cool. He's going off on his adventure. He's going to go save his friend or whatever. And then they don't know what to do next because they didn't have a plan. And this is one of the biggest challenges of discovery writing. Another big challenge is significant revisions. Once you do finally get through your first draft, which will probably take a while to get through if you don't have a plan in place, you, instead of starting from a skeleton and fleshing it out, you have silhouetted your story and are trying to make all of the inside of the silhouette match and somehow cohesive. And this is very difficult to do, and this takes a lot of work on the back end. So the end part of your project in editing and revision is going to take a lot longer. And one showcase that you are a discovery writer is this could be seen as an advantage. I mean, it's definitely fun, but it is definitely, I'm putting it into the challenge category, is tangents. You have this idea, so you just throw it into the story. Oh, you have this idea, so let's add that into the story. And that's really, really fun. But that can lead to no cohesion in your story because there's just so many things jam-packed in there. And this is actually a telltale sign that you are a discovery writer, is if you have bad endings in your first draft, in your rough draft. And that's okay for your ending to be bad in your rough draft because your rough draft should be bad. I don't care if you're an outliner, a discovery writer, if you're a brand new writer, or if you've been writing for decades, your first draft is going to be terrible. And that's okay. That's expected. It's called a rough draft for a reason. Everyone does it. Everyone has really bad first drafts. So it's okay. Your first drafts are going to be hard. But if you have a bad ending in your first draft, this is a telltale sign that you are a discovery writer. And that's simply because you have incorporated so many tangents into your story and so many different lines and threads into your story that they don't mesh well at the end. You end up with a lot of loose ends and it's not satisfying. So this, again, is very easy to fix with multiple revisions. But this is actually a sign that you're a discovery writer. And one fun thing about discovery writer that kind of goes along with tangents, which can be a negative or a positive, well, no, it's a positive, it's a fun part, is I didn't know blank existed. Again, with the tangents, I didn't know dragons exist in my world, but they do now. And you can have that even when you are an outliner, and I'm going to talk about why in a little bit. Now, it's really important for you to understand your style. It's important to experiment with both ends of this spectrum. Experiment with outlining, with planning every single scene, every single plot point, every single character arc in your story. It's important to try being a discovery writer, to just take an idea and run with it and see where it takes you. And I would recommend starting with small projects when you're trying to figure out what your writing style is so that you're not spending writing a novel and years on that to figure out which end of the spectrum you fall on. If you write some short stories, maybe based off of writing prompts or something else, you can very easily figure out if you like to discovery write or if you like to outline. But the most important thing is to learn you. Learn your style. Learn what works for you. We're all human. We're all different. We're all unique. We all like different things, have different strengths and weaknesses. So figure out what works well for you. And remember, this is a spectrum. Very few people, fall at either end of the extremes. Most everyone's going to be in between. So your goal is to figure out where you lie and experiment. Something that I do, I fall a little bit more towards outlining, but something that I do is I plot out the key points and then allow for scene exploration as I go along. And if you're not sure where on the spectrum that you fall, I've actually created a quiz for you guys if you look down in the description to really help you guys figure out and give you a good starting point for your writing journey on figuring out whether you're more of a outliner, more of a discovery writer, if you're on the extremes, if you're somewhere in the middle, if you're exactly in the middle. It'll just help you guys really get a good foot forward to figure out where on that spectrum that you lie. And something really fun is everyone discovery writes to some extent. So even if you have down to your scenes figured out for your story, you can still have a sentence or two of what your scene is, but that sentence or two is going to turn into a couple pages of information. So even if you're a hardcore outliner, everything is figured out ahead of time, you still discovery write and have those joys of writing and just that joy of the creative spark clicking and everything just flows together. That's why we all love to write, is to really get into that creative flow and allow a story to be made. So a bit of an encouragement for you all. There's no right or wrong answer. There isn't. Outlining isn't the end all be all. Discovery writers aren't the only writers in existence. What is important is what is best for you. And your method can change based off of what it is that you're actually writing. It's a lot easier to discovery write something short. And it's, I would argue, very important to outline a longer piece, especially if you're doing a trilogy, 5-part, 10-part. If you're planning something bigger, to give yourself those milestone markers. Brandon Sanderson said it fantastically, is that he's throwing himself, by creating an outline, he's throwing himself footballs and planning to catch it 15 years into the future because his projects are that big and just take that long. So giving yourself those bullet points, especially if you're doing a bigger project, is something I would highly recommend, even if you do fall more on the discovery writer side. At least having the main points out there for a bigger project. So, question of the week. Are you more of a discovery writer or an outliner? Personally, I fall more onto the outliner phase, but I'm definitely in that middle zone between the two because I have major plot points that I want figured out. And then I will spend time just discovery writing with all my characters individually to figure out who they are. And through that, I end up getting a lot of my subpoints and conflict that I then add into my outline. So I outline and then I discovery write and then I add more into my outline. So I kind of go back and forth between the two, and that's what works best for me. But what about you? Are you more of an outliner or are you more of a discovery writer? And don't forget, there is a quiz down in the description below to help you guys figure out and navigate exactly where on that spectrum you are and where you can start. Well, my scribes of the extraordinary, that's all that I have for you today. I look forward to continuing our journey together as we continue going beyond entertainment, one step at a time.